Hey, okay, the last video, I think I'd just done the HRC testing. Since then it's been in one more temper cycle. It's now down to 59 HRC. I've put it back over the precision surface grinder, got it dead flat. I'm now sanding. So I started off with a 240 grit, just to take the wheel sanding, because it does leave kind of a little bit of a undulating finish, even though it's really smooth. I took that off with 240. I've been through 400. I've done the other side. I'm just giving this side now a 600. Then I will do an 800. I will then do 1,000. And well, I haven't got 1,000, so it'll have to be 1,200. And I'm going to have a look at doing the etching. I've ground the bevels in. I didn't think you'd be interested in watching me grind the two bevels in. It was pretty much as you'd see on any other knife video. They're just slightly higher than a Scandi, these. I always try and put the paper on the blade where the handle, behind the handle, so that you don't get any little fish hooks, and I can just get some nice drag lines coming down with this 600 paper. And this is a really, really weak solution of ferric chloride, and because I don't want it attacking the 15N20, this shiny layer underneath, I don't want it attacking that too vigorously. It's probably going to take quite a while to etch this. Give you kind of a quick look. Oh, can you see it? Maybe you can. Anyway, I'll crack on with this. I just want to show you the grain on this token I did. So we're still at 65 HRC there. You can see how brittle that is. I want you to see the grain structure. I want to try and show you the grain on this 1095. Get in as close as I can here. See, it's a really nice tight grain. So this is a piece I broke off before I tempered it. I'm going to show you what happens when you temper. The same thing now. Here's the piece I tempered. I've only actually tempered this to 60 HRC. The knife's another point lower than this, so it will be a lot tougher than this. So you saw how easily that broke. You can just see how tough that steel is now. And that's at 60 HRC. Let's try and break it. And finally it went. Grain's still lovely and tight. I didn't think I'd be able to break a small piece off like I did with that one. I just think it'd be too tough. Gone. So there you go, guys. That's what just going down to 60 does to 1095. Substantially increases toughness. Another point down ramps it up a whole lot more. I think this is the third or fourth etching cycle now, I just cannot remember. And I'm just gently rubbing it with some 2000 grit. And as I said, because this acid is really so weak, I tend to leave it in for 20, even 30 minutes in the acid, and it doesn't really affect the 15N20 at all. It just kind of puts a bit of cloud on it, a little bit of darkness, but it does eventually eat into the 1095. And so I'm using 2000, and all I'm doing really is just polishing any oxides off the tops of the nickel, because the 1095 will be sinking lower into the steel now as it's etched. But it does take a while longer to do it this way, but I think you just get such a nice finish, and you really get the 1095 going really black. So yeah, I shall probably do another 2 or 3 cycles of this now until I can actually feel, you know, some deep ridges in that damascus. Not quite there yet. So I've been in touch with the man, and this is what he wants. He wants this black wood with the brass liners against what will be a mosaic spine. And I agree, I think that'll look really nice. First job with this black wood will be to try and get as much of this natural oil off as I can before we stick the epoxy on. You can see how black it is, this stuff. It's just jet black. I'll have to go over this quite a few times until the cloth is clean. Again, black. Just pull all the oils out the wood. Mix that up, and I will stick it on the rocket stove for a minute, warm it up, which makes it mix much better actually. Also helps it bond because it thins it down, and it helps it get into all the little nooks and crannies. Plus it speeds up the drying a little bit by maybe an hour or so. So all you need, a nice thin coat on there. Squish it around to make sure you've got full contact. You can always take it off just to have a look, so you get epoxy all over your fingers. You can see the whole surface is covered in glue. That's all you need. Let's put those by the rocket stove. Quick look at how I drill my handle scales. So usually I always do the end one first, then I position the blade on the scale so that I've got full coverage of the blade. I then drill the centre one and put a pin in to locate them two together, then I drill the last one. Now when they are drilled, those pins come out, and I put the next scale against it and double-sided tape that on. I then drill straight through from this side so that the pins are then perfectly aligned. With all my holes drilled, I've drilled a series of more holes to reduce the weight of this brass slightly, also to get some epoxy between the wood and the actual scales of the knife. Plus I drilled straight through where those holes are, so I get a complete glue bond right through the knife, which kind of acts like more pins then. So we've got 3 brass pins and we've got 4 epoxy pins that are going straight through the blade. And those holes are a bit deeper. My next stage now is to find out which is the back and which is the front, which is that. Put the pins back in. So my next job now is just to shape the front of these scales so that it can be fitted on the knife, and I will put a slight angle on them, just taper them back a little bit so they're not just a hard square edge. I'll go and do that on the belt grinder, and then I can get these epoxied on. I've taken, as you saw, quite a lot of the weight off on the bandsaw. It just saves grinding it away because this wood is particularly oily and it just clogs belts up for fun. Well, my brass scales are cleaned up, they're ready, the fronts have nicely finished. I've just got to acetone these off now, put the pins through. I have reamed those holes out so that the pins are nice now, they go through, no problem. Just a nice snug fit. We'll just get some epoxy around them as well. The last job for me to do is to put my logo on. Now, as I've shaped the fronts of the scales, I can draw a line there, then I can just set my logo up where I want it. Then I'll get these glued up, guys. I'll come back when I've done a bit of shaping. I'm just on the finishing touches of this handle. I ran it through the grinder, took most of the excess stuff away on the grinder. Then, as always, I just get it here in my little knife vise. I get the files and rasps and sandpaper and various other things on it until I've finally got the shape I want. Kind of that Coke bottle shape. And I've just got some 4000 micromesh paper here, and I'm just cleaning up these pins, brass pins. This wood is, when you've cleaned up this wood, it always goes kind of lighter, but once it gets subjected to the air again, it kind of oxidises and goes a lot darker again. This wood doesn't really need any oil on it because it's a really oily wood, as you saw, so it won't take any oil, it'll just lay on the surface, so I'm not going to bother putting oil on it. So in a sense, that is finished. Let's get it unwrapped and I'll show you how it looks. And finally, here we are with the end result. That Mosaic Damascus top, Sanmai, with the nickel and the 1095. The Bowie I did in this same kind of patinated setup. I didn't hot glue this one because it just looks so nice being able to actually see the pattern in the steel and the Sanmai. Those brass liners, I think, really, they do look quite cool, them. They really do. The knife's a lovely fit. So there is just the sheath to make for this, guys, and on to the next. I really do love that. I know it's a bit extravagant for a bushcraft knife, but you know, it's what the guy wanted and he's entitled to have exactly what he wants. So next, I think the project I'm looking forward to the most, I've got a few stock removal knives to finish off, and then I'm going to be making a knife for a butcher, which is a big steak knife for cutting up meat and steaks. That's going to be a ladder pattern, a crushed W ladder pattern with an entirely different core steel, a very nice steel that I've been using about 18 months, 2 years, which I've just been using on knives. I made myself a chef knife out of it for my kitchen. I've been trying it for 2 years. It really is a nice steel. It's so good and it performs at high hardness. So I'm going to be using that in the core, and I'll bring you along with that build, guys. I think there may be a big project coming up soon for rocket stove guys who are still following me, and this will, if it happens, I'm determined that it will, but it will be the biggest rocket stove I have ever made. I don't even know how big it's going to be yet. It's going to be very big, and it's going to be used to heat a giant shipping container, so to a ridiculous amount of heat, to ridiculously high temperatures. So if it goes ahead, that whole video series will probably go onto my Patreon channel. I think I will put little excerpts of it, no doubt, on this channel, but the main crux of the content will be on Patreon for the guys who, you know, support me there and want to see that sort of content. Okay, as I said, thanks for watching, guys. Any comments, leave them below. Please hit the like button, all the other buttons, all the bells and whistles, and see you soon. Okay, bye for now. That gives us 4 hours to do this crossword then. An African wild dog. Well, that's easy. A bird of prey. That's easy. Parrot.